on the first physical confrontation.
Ireland perhaps standing on the verge of history, but make no mistake, this All Black side might be new and fresh-faced, but they are still mighty, mighty opponents. And Andrew Mertens gets us underway. High, long click into the arms of Anthony Foley, who captained Ireland against Samoa here last Sunday. Stringer. Humphreys charged down by Kelleher. And already Humphreys knows there is going to be no time this afternoon. Kelleher was on him in a flash.
You know, Kelleher's made rather a feature of that within his game. We know him from the Super 12, and incidentally he's one of the few non-Canterbury players within this side. 10 of the side at least coming from Canterbury, 7 of the pack, so there's not going to be any ring rustiness there.
Very big line out that was, well taken by O'Kelly at the back. Ireland winning the penalty. New Zealand caught offside, they weren't 10 metres, but a big moment. David Humphreys almost charged down, but Ireland cool in a line-out which might have caused them problems.
Yes, the line-out has been pretty good. What they need to do today is put pressure on the New Zealand line-out. It's an area they were very strong against England. If they're going to succeed today, they're going to have to limit the possession they give this All Black side, because one thing's for sure, if you're going to win against New Zealand, they're going to make you earn it. They're going to make you play to win. You just can't sit back and wait for them to make mistakes, because they ain't going to make them.
David Humphreys has been in rare kicking form this season, the man of the match against Wales not so long ago. And again O'Kelly, the big, tall Leinster man at the centre of the line, gathering, and Ireland immediately taking the battle to New Zealand, and they've won the penalty. They're playing an advantage here. The ball will come back to Ireland, but Humphreys launches it, hoping that Mags might get on the end of it. A first real test for Leon MacDonald. He came through the test. However, Ireland will have the penalty because of New Zealand's earlier infringement.
And exactly what Ireland need to do. It was in the end of it quite a static ball. It was the right call by David Humphreys. It was well placed, but just a little bit too far. Ireland really need to start meeting force with force, if you like, and take this New Zealand forward pack on. They can't afford to sit back in any shape or form today. They really have to take the game to them, and early signs are that's just what they're going to do.
Taken over from Christian Cullen, Leon MacDonald, strong runner, very ambitious. Made his debut with a couple of tests against Scotland last year. So just 3 minutes gone at Lansdowne Road, and David Humphreys with this opportunity. It's magnificent. A record 37 points for Ulster against Wasps in the European Cup at the start of the season. If you have a kick at goal, there is none better at the moment than David Humphreys. Ireland leading New Zealand after 4 minutes by 3 points to 0.
Yeah, I was slightly struck. David Humphreys can be kind of a streaky kicker, but let's hope for Ireland's sake he's got his kicking boots on today.
For the second time in 5 minutes, Foley is first at the restart. The Munster man winning his 26th cap. Stringer recovered from that ankle injury, and this time Humphreys just a little quicker with the clearance. He's learnt his lesson. Reuben Thorne was one of those bearing down in on him, and again a good clearing kick.
Yeah, as he stood a bit deeper in the pocket then, gave himself a bit better angle and was able to get a very good touch just inside Ireland's own half, and New Zealand cutting the line out to 4 jumpers. They're obviously concerned that Ireland's disruption capability in the full line out, cutting the line out just to give their jumpers a little bit more space.
This is going to be very interesting though, because there was much criticism of Anton Oliver and the All Black line-out after that decisive Tri-Nations game in Sydney. They've won the first one though, comfortably taken by Chris Jackall, 6'7" of him. The All Blacks trying to muster something in the backs, but Humphreys again there disrupting. This is MacDonald, the fullback. Picked up by Maxwell, enormous tackle by Eric Miller. Ireland have conceded the penalty, but Miller making his intentions clear from the outset. Terrific tackle from Miller.
Well, it was rather unfortunate, because not only did he make the tackle, but he spilled the ball as well against Norm Maxwell. New Zealand is normally so sure in possession. And that's a side to Eric Miller's game that's really come on in the last couple of years. He's now really got that hard edge, which is going to be needed today, particularly up front.
Mertens just a little fortunate to get away with that. One bounce into touch. Shane Horgan couldn't take the risk of trying to stop it and then knocking it into play, but it will be an all-black line-out anyway from the penalty. And Oliver again. Jack up the front. Kelleher, Mertens, Mauger, back to Mertens, cut inside Robertson, the number 8. Good attacking position. They go right. Oliver, all action. Hooker. Mertens again. Lomu for the first time. Horgan hanging on for grim death. And Ireland have done enough to repel that particular attack. And if they score a try, you won't hear a bigger reception than Shane Horgan got for that tackle on Jonah Lomu. Doug Hewett tries to take the quick line out and thinks better of it.
Well, he timed that perfectly. If we get a chance to see that again, he took man and ball. He knew the ball was coming out to Jonah Lomu, and he made sure that before Lomu had a chance to set him in his sights, he was on him and stopped him getting any momentum whatsoever. Exactly what he's going to need to do all day. He's going to take a lot of concentration from Shane Horgan today.
Shane Horgan against Jonah Lomu, 6'4" and 15 stones against 6'5" and 18 stones. That's the challenge facing Leinster's Shane Horgan. It's the halfway line.
Restart or use it. Restart or use it.
Kelleher to Mertens. Mauger offering himself. Mauger coming in, and they've messed that up.
Well, just a little couple of early signs that there is a bit of ring rustiness there. Maybe some of the non-Canterbury combinations not quite as slick as they might have been, but certainly showing a human sign, and Ireland really need to profit from this period, because there's no question that sooner or later they're going to get into their stride.
Well, the Wires back in New Zealand were really buzzing when Mitchell named the touring party. No sentiment. Former captain Tane Randell, Christian Cullen and Jeff Wilson all left behind, all doubtless watching this game on television back home now. Mitchell signalling his intent. There are fresh faces, and the rustiness that Philip was talking about is evident at this stage. Ireland still leading by that early David Humphreys penalty, and that's just inside the all-black half. Hickey testing the right wing, Hewett, and he comes through that test, doesn't he? O'Kelly with the tackle. Hewett didn't have the men up in support, and it's picked up by Eric Miller. Hickey again. Not knocked on, or the referee says it has been now. He was a little slow indicating, but the scrum will be the All Blacks, but Ireland taking the game to them.
Very much so, they're taking it to them, but that little kick for Hewett, which was very well fielded, nearly turned into a very dangerous situation, but certainly showing their willingness to counter-attack as well. New Zealand sides don't tend to offer too many opportunities, so when they're presented to you, you have to take them. It's good to see that Ireland are certainly in the frame of mind to do that, because they should be confident with ball in hand, and if there is an edge to this Ireland side, I think it may well be in the centre of the field. The likes of Brian O'Driscoll, who's put himself on the world stage now, certainly be looking for a big game from him today.
Not much in it in terms of Pat Waite. Scott Robertson picked up at the base of the scrum. Mauger kicked on. Lomu charges forward. Dempsey would have had half an eye on Lomu bearing down, and he hung on to the ball bravely. Now Ireland have to win it back. They'll have the penalty. All Blacks streaming over the top in their eagerness to win back possession. But twice Irish players have been tested by Lomu, and twice Horgan and Dempsey have come through.
Yes, Dempsey's positional play was excellent there. He was in exactly the right place to cover the kick, fielded it well. And again, just that New Zealand transgression, relieving the pressure. That was more of a shoulder charge than a tackle. I think Lomu lucky not to have been penalised for that.
Just the ball, fellas.
But in the end, I guess a fair result.
Line out to Ireland. Jack disrupting Galway at the front, but still picked up by Ireland. Kelleher, though, with the knockdown. Collected one-handedly by Jack, who started all the trouble at the line-out. Mertens, men over, Mauger, Hewett, inside Dempsey. But it all stemmed from the line-out, which New Zealand contested well.
Contested well, and that man Owen Kelleher again. Whether he was behind the back foot, but he's certainly got a second charge down at the game, this time to Peter Stringer. But that was a wonderful pass from Mertens to get the ball to Hewett. It was inch perfect, and but for Just the ball taking a kick right into touch could have been a New Zealand score.
Ireland's most capped hooker, Keith Wood, having overtaken Ken Kennedy, wins a more secure line-out. Humphreys has to be quick. Oliver again was there, and Humphreys relieves the pressure.
Well, they certainly are putting a lot of pressure on the kickers, New Zealand. And that's where Ireland's forwards need to inject some momentum at ruck and maul, just to put these New Zealand defenders on the back foot and give their kickers, should that be what they want to do, a little bit more time and space.
I know it's noisy, but let's just get it. You got it? Let's go.
Anton Oliver. Again, Chris Jack, all 6'7" and 17.5 stone, securing the ball from the line out. It's going to be an Ireland scrum, though.
I think that might have been judged a forward pass. Tana Mauger, again, maybe one of those non-Canterbury combinations. Seems a little bit eager to get up to take that flat ball. And in the event that the pass was judged forward.
Mauger over the last couple of years has moved from wing to centre.
That's why you're getting the benefit of the doubt.
Still maybe readjusting to his new career. But now very much established in that central position. Tana Mauger.
Yes, he's a big centre, Nick, and I'd love to see Brian O'Driscoll getting a cut at him today.
Foley with the pick-up and drive beyond the 10-metre line. Stringer, Humphreys with acceleration. Here is O'Driscoll for the first time, a roar of anticipation. Miller goes to ground. The referee playing the advantage. Ireland will have a penalty here. Humphreys! Mags! What a terrific score for Kevin Maggs and for Ireland!
Well, if we're going to see that break by Brian O'Driscoll, just took the words right out of my mouth. Brian O'Driscoll just cut back inside of Mauger to set that up. That's beyond this. This is to the ruck. That was a wonderful break by David Humphreys. He had very little support with him. Had to hold on, drew the man. And Maggs, we're just talking about him just prior to the game. What a contribution he's made to Ireland's season so far. Keith Wood providing the decoy that gave David Humphreys the option to dummy. And who was on his shoulder? Kevin Maggs. What a smile.
Humphreys with the conversion. And they like it very, very much at Lansdowne Road after the opening dozen minutes. Ireland lead the All Blacks by 10 points to 0.
10 points. That ascendancy in midfield really came to the fore. This is beyond, but it really was the key break was from Brian O'Driscoll initially that really opened them up and enabled Ireland to get the momentum, get in behind the defence. But it really was beautifully taken by David Humphreys.
Maggs evading the tackle of Tana Mauger. He made his debut actually as a replacement against the All Blacks in that game in 1997. But I would venture to say that that is the finest moment of his rugby career so far. Humphreys, something for this.
He's enjoying himself, isn't it?
Lomu to Leon McDonald. He has Hewett in support on the outside. McDonald, though, maybe a little foolishly, decides to take on the Irish pack, but he does well to shuttle the ball back. Mertens, half challenged by Wood. This is Reuben Thorne, a throwback to the old days of craggy All Black flankers. This, if you need telling, is Jonah Lomu, and this is dangerous. 3 Irish players. Horgan again holds him down. Stringer. Maxwell feeds Anton Oliver. The referee thinks about blowing the whistle and then does. The All Blacks clearing the ball away illegally, and the referee Andre Watson blows his whistle. Mick Galway just talking about the price of bread, but again Shane Horgan.
A wonderful tackle, but this the first sign of a bit of an edge. The All Blacks have been stung in a ruck and maul. This is Jonah Lomu again. He just shrugs off David Humphreys. Doesn't look as though he's got the pace of old, to be honest. He's caught from behind by Shane Horgan. Again, a wonderful tackle, and ultimately spins the ball, which ended up, through the course of events, giving Ireland scrum just inside their own 10, just outside their own 10-yard line. But the All Blacks not really liking it. Ireland really starting to mix it at ruck and maul and not taking anything from this All Black pack. I've sensed they've got them rattled a bit.
You only need to look at the scoreboard. Approaching the quarter hour in Dublin. Ireland 10, New Zealand 0. The Kevin Maggs try, the centrepiece. Set up by this man, Humphreys, again charged down by Kelleher. Major hacks on. The referee has blown his whistle though.
Just a little bit of indecision, I think, there from David Humphreys. The gap he was hoping was there wasn't quite there. And again, New Zealand very, very quick to pressure the kick. Humphreys ultimately looking initially to his right foot and then decides with his left foot, but just a sea of black in front of him.
Number 1 is Greg Feek from Canterbury, who's been accused of deliberately pulling down in the front row, so Ireland will have a penalty. But Humphreys has a decision to make. He wants to stand as flat as possible to take the game to the All Blacks. When he begins to retreat at situations like that, he's almost conceding ground.
That's right, and I think in that situation it was a genuine, something else was called. I don't think it was a kick, because as you rightly point out, he wouldn't have been standing as flat as he was if he had intended to kick from that particular scrum. He subsequently kicked, but because he was so flat, that New Zealand defence was right upon him.
Wood with the Irish line out. Again, the flashlights go off. O'Kelly rises high, and Ireland caught offside at the line out, crossing the line, and that's a little sloppy.
You guys across the offside line.
Yes, it's valuable ground. Just the referee's comments directed towards David Wallace for possibly crossing the line before the ball was in.
But from the penalty, New Zealand commit the cardinal sin of not finding touch, so Dempsey will fire away. It'll still be an all-black line-out, but not as close to the Irish try line as they would have initially wanted.
No, and again, it may be part of the ring rustiness, but they're just not really finding their feet at the moment, this all-black side. They have looked very, very dangerous anytime they've got into opposition half, and you can tell by the intensity they have when they're on the ball, and their intent and the way they go about it, breaking sides down, that Ireland are going to want to play most of this game in the opposition half.
Oliver throws. Again, Norm Maxwell came to prominence in the lead up to the 1999 World Cup. Norm Maxwell, a terrific player, following in the footsteps of the likes of Ian Jones. Mertens to Mauger. Half broke the tackle, but could only find Brian O'Driscoll, his opposite number. They're not afraid to kill the ball when they have to, New Zealand.
They're not. It's rather un-all-black-like, I must say, that passage of play, with black shirts hurtling over the ball and on the ground. Normally the best side in the world at staying on their feet at ruck and roll. Here's just the passage of play. Again, Brian O'Driscoll just getting in amongst them there to thwart that attack in midfield, and David Humphreys finding touch just outside the All Black 22.
Because it was an Ireland penalty, they will of course have possession from this line out, and David Humphreys will feel rightly pleased with the way this match has started.
Yes, first real attacking line that Ireland have had in the game so far. Let's see what they can magic out of this.
O'Driscoll poised, waiting. Stringer, Humphreys, Maggs the try scorer. Stringer, this is Eric Miller, still outside the Kiwi 22. Drop goal attempt from Humphreys. The man with the emerald green boot. That's the danger that Humphreys poses. New Zealand now know it, and Ireland lead 13 points to 0 midway through the first half.
What I liked about that is I didn't see that coming until David Humphreys stood back in that pocket. There was no real indication that was the plan. Very difficult to defend against. He stood deep enough. Those All Black defenders couldn't get near him. That was a wonderfully struck kick just inside that left post.
Now then, these might be the All Blacks, but they are 13 points to 0 down, and they will have to start motoring, and they know it. Mauger held up by O'Kelly. It'll still be New Zealand ball though. Kelleher out to McDonald. There's no real pace at the moment to the Blacks' back line. Kelleher again. Lomu shrugs off Galway. Central position from which to launch, to the right or to the left. They go to the right. Mertens with the half a show. Mauger Foley bearing down. This is Richie McCaw, the debutant. Mauger out to Hewett. Hickey with the tackle. Ireland think they've won back the ball. The referee Andre Watson agrees.
Well, despite that, New Zealand supporting the ball very well, but Hickey's taken that quickly, sundered it downfield.
McDonald missed the bounce. Lomu tackled by Hickey. Dublin is loving this. Shane Horgan against the Mauger, shrugs him off. He's got Wallace outside. Plenty of Irish support here if he can rip the ball away. Foley, the ball's still free. And the All Blacks in defence. We're offside anyway, and it'll be a penalty to Ireland, but a terrific counter-attack.
Oh, a penalty when it should have been a try. I think David Wallace will look at this tomorrow and think, I should have passed. Shane Horgan does manage to get his pass away eventually to David Wallace. Now, does the right thing. He cuts back inside, but then he's got four men to his left. Could have given that. Ultimately, ball comes off Norm Maxwell. And Ireland find themselves with a line out just on the All Black 5-yard line.
Well, I'm enjoying this.
Well, it couldn't really have gone much better from Ireland's perspective. This is the game plan they wanted to be able to play.
The line out was long, but Miller's there. But it was knocked forward. It wasn't what Wood intended. He was looking for Galway, I think, at the front of the line. It went over him. And for the moment, the opportunity is gone. But in terms of what the coaches will be thinking and what Warren Gatland and John Mitchell would have wanted from the opening quarter, they will be poles apart at the moment, because for Mitchell it's been terrific, and for that man John Mitchell, he'll be very much worrying about it now. Gatland much the happier coach. Still a defensive scrum. Kelleher, Mertens under pressure from Wallace, does well to get the ball away, but it's only down the throat of the fullback Murphy. Ball will come back on the Irish side. There it is, there's Stringer. Maggs back inside to Humphreys. Foley takes on Greg Somerville, the prop. Stringer. Maggs was clapping for the ball, and I'm not sure that anyone was really expecting that, least of all Wallace and Maggs.
Ireland just really seemed to be a little bit nonplussed there in terms of what to do, as Mertens thunders this ball. He's been given it by Lomu, he thunders it downfield, and Gervin Dempsey gathers.
The Dubliner Dempsey winning his 19th cap, key figure for Leinster in their European Cup campaign this season. Hasn't found touch, it's found his opposite number, Leon McDonald from Canterbury. Here's Horgan, who's covered himself in tackling glory so far. On that occasion he was on the receiving end from McDonald. Stringer to Wood, where he's so dangerous. The International Rugby Board's Player of the Year. Lovely pass inside from Stringer to Foley, but then the fingers weren't willing. The ball was spilt forward, and Mertens can launch the counter-attack. Horgan's there. This is McCaw, the debutant. Tackled by Horgan. He is earning his pumps at the moment. Reuben Thorne takes the ball in, still inside their own 10-metre line. Chris Jack, hauled to the floor by Miller. Kelleher chips over the top, and Dempsey gathers. Another high up and under, and the ball will come down with a roar on top of it. It was well taken by Aaron Mauger, and he can launch his own counter-attack. A breathless passage of play. Hickey still tried to keep the ball in play. In the end, that particular movement comes to a close. But both sides showing ambition and showing an ability to kick the ball as well.
Absolutely, and if not in the right place, but a wonderful passage of play from Shane Horgan, some great following up and tackling. But I just sense that maybe what Ireland need to do there was just put the ball long and deep. The ball in the air gave New Zealand a little bit of time to regroup. There was no real threat from it. But certainly this New Zealand side not really looking as assured as you normally expect them to, and Ireland really have them under a lot of pressure.
Scott Robertson did well to rescue the ball at the back of that line. But they were offside, accidental offside, as the runner going forward, number 1 Greg Feek, ran into one of his teammates. The scrum will go to Ireland.
The scrum goes to Ireland, and if it's not Ireland stopping them, they're kind of doing their very best to stop themselves at the moment. Mitchell will want to remove these self-inflicted mistakes from the game at the moment, because it's really stopping New Zealand getting any momentum whatsoever, and ultimately just turning possession and momentum back over to this Irish side, who really are on a bit of a roll, but need to make the most of it.
That's enough run. Just keep the scrums up. It's as simple as that. Just move across, that's fair.
Andre Watson just making sure that the
I can't use that excuse every time it goes down.
the scrum is less of a jungle than it is at the moment, and he's
Come closer.
saving his sternest words for the Kiwi front row of Feek, Oliver and Somerville. This is Peter Stringer, and this is David Humphreys again under pressure from Mauger, but gets the kick away. One bounce into touch. Thank you very much.
Yeah, a much better kick. Gave the New Zealand side much less time to react. There's no they were going to cover that one off. Low penetrating flight, just one bounce into touch, brings Ireland back into the New Zealand half, where they want to spend the remainder of this half, certainly. If not, they'd love to spend the rest of the game, I'm sure.
It was interesting. I was having a quiet word with Warren Gatland, the coach, yesterday, and I said, what are you bringing to this game as a former All Black? And he said, I'm trying to convince them that while New Zealand are terrific, they aren't invincible.
And we can see that today. They're looking very human at the moment. And you're right to point that out, Nick. And sides gone by have kind of beaten themselves before they've even taken the park against previous All Black teams.
Mertens with the big punt downs field again. Dempsey had scuttled across the take, but that'll be too long, will it? It just didn't have the legs to go out, so they'll have to drop down inside their own touch and goal and start from their own 22. I guess in the end you could say it was a perfect weight, but Dempsey would have had his heart in his mouth.
You make your own luck, Nick, I think.
Well, Ireland are making theirs at the moment. They still lead New Zealand by 13 points to nil. We're approaching the half-hour mark, and one of the reasons is the kicking of David Humphreys. This will be interesting. The touch judge decides that the ball did find touch. From this angle it seemed to go out, but we'll have a better view here, Philip.
Well, this is a great angle. It was a wonderful kick, because he didn't have to make a first split decision there. It just, yes, it kicks in left, and the reason is that the liner isn't right on that flag, is that you can't have a line at more than 5 metres from the opposition line. So it gives Ireland a good position, albeit an All Black liner, which they've cut to 3 people.
Big moment this for Anton Oliver. Oh, clever. Went long, took out the line out completely, and Scott Robertson can gather in his own time. Kelleher completes the clearance. Again, Dempsey's there first of all, challenged by Hewett. New Zealand will try and rip this one back. Their studs will fly over like scraping old paint off metal. They're terrific ruckers of the ball, and you always sense that when that ball went in, it was going to come back on the black side.
Yes, New Zealand were there in numbers, and once Gervin Dempsey took the tackle, he was cast down guarantee that you're going to have half a dozen New Zealand colleagues on your back as well, ultimately giving a deserved scrum to New Zealand. I think they're going to try and move the ball from here. It's a position they feel very confident attacking from.
Kelleher to Mertens, inside to Aaron Mauger, tackled by Foley just inside the Ireland half. Again, the forwards go over. Somerville is there, as is Reuben Thorne. Few work harder than Reuben Thorne in the New Zealand back row. Here's Robertson, the number 8. Kelleher. Space beginning to open up maybe for the Blacks. That's the Irish 22. Feek. Back to Mertens. And Mertens invites Jonah Lomu to do what he does best. But he's getting absolutely no change from Shane Horgan at the moment. And Lomu will be feeling just a mite suffocated.
Well, that was the one time that Lomu got a little bit of ball and what appeared to be some space in front of him. He tried to dance around Shane Horgan, but Brian O'Driscoll was there to aid his... And who else there but McCaw.
All hands to the pump, isn't it?
I think McCaw felt he owed Jonah Lomu one after being unceremoniously bounced off him earlier on in the game.
Wood throws to a full line out. It's a terrific spectacle, the line out now that they're fully contested again. And O'Kelly had to work very hard to win back the ball for Ireland, but he did well, stretching his 6'8" frame to its limit and allowing Stringer this opportunity Horgan's underneath it. It's terrific take by Richie McCaw. Lomu at scrum half, Mertens where he ought to be at fly half. This one will come down with condensation on it. A terrific take from Gervin Dempsey. And Ireland. Which way is it going to go? The referee saying that appeared to be saying that he was being hauled down there. I thought for a moment he was going to give the scrum to New Zealand, but he's given it to Ireland, and that was some take from Gervin Dempsey.
It was a wonderful take, because that is a picture perfect Gary Owen. If anybody's watching that, the timing of that ball, Gervin Dempsey had to go into the air to challenge for that. There's no way he could have stood his ground, because both Tanu Maga and his colleague Aaron Mauger were right up on him. That kick by Mertens giving Dempsey no time whatsoever, but ultimately defended it well, and Ireland have a defensive scrum.
Gervin Dempsey worked hard over the summer to add muscle to that frame, and he's now completing a childhood ambition to play against the All Blacks. It's Ronan O'Gara, the backup, number 10. Eyes full of anticipation, enjoying this doubtless.
You all right? No, last comes with great, guys, keep it there. Crouch and hold. Engage.
The men of Limerick in the Irish front row. Foley, another Munsterman.
He's on his feet.
Has to work hard to win this one back. You can see Stringer really stamping away to try and win that ball back, and they've lost it. Amanga. Humphreys with the tackle. The All Blacks clearing bodies away. Men and options to the right. McCaw. Major. Brought to the ground by Foley. Don't want to give away the penalty, Ireland.
Fine.
Picked up by Chris Jack, the lock.
Advantage black.
They're playing the advantage, so the penalty will be New Zealand's if nothing comes of this. But again, Lomu forced to take steps backwards.
One. Still advantage black.
Amanga. Mertens. This is McDonald, the fullback. Interesting to see how long the referee allows this advantage to continue. I think somebody else is being caught offside, so they'll have a little more time to make the most of this. Mertens inside Humphreys. Hewett. That close. Almost dragged over the line. And now we are brought back, and it's going to be a scrum to New Zealand. Somehow, though, Ireland's defence holding on.
Somehow holding on, but Mertens really stepping inside David Humphreys there, and but for a last gap tackle by both David Wallace and Dennis Hickey, I think New Zealand would have been in there. Real last-ditch effort in defence. New Zealand just stepping up the pace a little more, looking a little bit more confident on the ball. But Ireland defensively are really going to have to watch, particularly Mertens. Mertens not really noted for his running game, but he's quick on his feet, and Humphreys is going to have to mark him a little bit tighter.
New Zealand have only ever lost one match in Ireland. They've only ever lost once here, famously against Munster in Limerick in 1978. 12-0 the score that day. They've actually just made a play about that particular match. 13,000 packed into Thomond Park that evening, although 113,000 now claim to have been there. But that's an indication of the test Ireland are facing today. Graham Torres still completed the Grand Slam that year, but just one solitary victory, and that will tell you how important this scoreline is at the moment to Ireland. Approaching half-time, key moment of the match. Can the Kiwis score before the break? Kelleher, half broke. Thorne was up in support, 5 metres short. Again, the Blacks driving over to secure possession. Oliver, the captain. Mertens, he has Hewett outside. Strong Hewett.
Last feet, Green, last feet.
Mertens assessing the options. McDonald. Kelleher, but Wallace to the fore, and Ireland's defence is still strong. Kelleher tries to cut inside Eric Miller. Hewett picks up and goes himself, runs into Keith Wood. Thorne rocking the ball back. Jack will stretch for the line. and gets the try. 6'7", stretching to the line, and there was an inevitability about that. The All Blacks pounding away, and Chris Jack, they're raving about him back home, gets the try that brings them back into it.
Well, it wasn't particularly pretty, but it was certainly nonetheless well earned. All Blacks putting 6 and 7 phases of play. They're showing their rookie in the game now. Ultimately, Chris Jack sees the opportunity. Ireland's defence stretched, and only Peter Stringer there to defend that circa 17-stone frame, which stretched every last inch, I think, to push the ball over the line. New Zealand now right back in it, and probably confident that they've blown a few cobwebs out and go on to try and take a hold on this game.
Mertens with the conversion, which was good. It's taken them 35 minutes to breach the Irish line, but they have breached that line now. Chris Jack with the try, converted by Mertens. It's now Ireland 13, New Zealand 7. It was the initial break from Hewett, and again they were just hanging on to possession, consistently recycling, and Jack against the string bean Stringer, no real contest. Collected by McCaw. Feek with the long throw. Major going against the grain and getting away with it and finding a good kick. Foley forced to back pedal. This is Gervin Dempsey. Major was there providing the nuisance. And this is Mertens looking to open it up. Tries to find space, but it's occupied by Shane Horgan. O'Driscoll is up in support on his right. He doesn't need him. Foot into touch just.
Well, it just opened up for Shane Horgan, didn't it? He was thinking, what do I do here? Kick, run, where's my support? Brown O'Driscoll stays outside him when I think he wanted him to come inside. And I think the All Blacks were expecting that themselves, and ultimately somehow he slipped through, but was just pushed into touch.
There's Horgan. Number 2 is Anton Oliver, takes it short to Feek, who at the same time as getting the ball found Peter Clouseau inspecting his rib cage. Horgan again. Now what will he do this time? He decides to test Mertens, and Mertens has been around the block, takes it well, but always looking to stretch Mertens, almost half charge down there. Stringer. Horgan's down injured. Stringer finds touch, but I think Shane Horgan will need some attention.
That was a wonderful kick by Stringer. It was exactly what was needed. Nothing to be profited by putting up the Gary Owen. The likelihood is it would have landed in the 22 mark. Possession to New Zealand. Shane Horgan just a little bit knocked around from following up his own Gary Owen.
Just a minute.
Getting some attention now while New Zealand organise their line out.
I saw your eyes fill with light when I mentioned Munster against the All Blacks. Do you remember that day?
I can't say I was there, Nick, I must say.
113,000 were apparently.
Yes. No, I was just a gosling, as they say. I was only a young fella at that stage, about a mere babe in arms. So, but I well remembered. I think that's what Ireland want from this game. Maybe it would be something else to celebrate, because we've been celebrating that game for far too long now.
Worth repeating, never beaten the All Blacks since the originals toured here in 1905. They've had 14 goes at it, stretching all the way back to 1905. The closest they came was in 1973, when Willie John McBride's team actually held the Blacks to a 10-all draw here with a late try, and might have won it with a conversion, but it drifted away on the breeze, and Ireland have never been closer since. Worrying moment this for Horgan, as he has his ankle attended to. They've got Mike Mullins as the obvious replacement.
You're right.
And you can just see his left ankle going over on itself as he made that tackle on Mertens. But Ireland will want to get to half-time and see if Horgan can just shake that off. Meantime, line-out continues. Thorne has to do some juggling, but manages to hang on. Kelleher. Dempsey's on the halfway, lets it bounce, which is dangerous. to the 10-metre line, and Ireland have the penalty. Anton Oliver accused of diving straight onto the ball, and Ireland could be given very 3 cheap points here.
But I was rather fortunate, but it was a funny ball that Gervin Dempsey had to deal with there. It just seemed to drift in the wind and sit up there. It wasn't coming for him, and as we talked, Shane Horgan's getting more attention. It's key that he stays on this pitch. He's doing a very, very good, lively defensive job, not only in marking Jonah Lubin, but really putting himself around the park, and he's made a very, very big defensive contribution so far to this game.
8 points so far for David Humphreys. Can he make it 11 before half-time? There's the answer. A cool head, and Ireland lead the All Blacks, approaching the break by 16 points to 7.
Yeah, some further evidence that David Humphreys has got his swing, if you like, in golfing parlance. Technically a great strike, got everything right, concentrating on just heading through the ball and not exactly where it's going. It was a wonderful strike.
We're playing first half injury time. O'Driscoll, terrific take by him. Maggs laid the ball up for Miller, and here's Wood in his element when he's running at opposing shirts in space. Stringer to Humphreys. Across the field, McDonald gathers. Does he know? Thought better of it, and probably wisely.
Great strike again. Exactly the right thing to do. Pin New Zealand right back in their own half after the 3-pointer. And it'll only serve to frustrate this New Zealand side, and it's something that will have been in David Humphreys' mind before the game. Jonah Loma having a reputation for not being particularly good on the turn. Great when he's building up momentum, but turning back and covering kicks not supposedly one of his strengths. Ultimately gives Ireland a great position, albeit on New Zealand throw-in.
Malcolm O'Kelly shouting the odds, hoping to disrupt this New Zealand line-out, which he does almost. Couldn't quite flick it back, and Mertens hammers high, and Horgan will get the ball, swiftly followed by Jonah Lomu. Does well to evade the tackle. That ankle will have been tested by that particular passage of play. O'Driscoll ahead of Wallace, but hoovered up by Dennis Hickey on the far left side. Ball still in play, and it's still Ireland's. Wood running across the defence and being knocked back. Stringer, Humphreys, maybe a drop goal. He's had a go. That's drifting away to the right, though. McDonald, in desperation and with a little relief, touches the ball down. There is the half-time whistle, and the roar tells you what is happening at the break. Ireland leading. Kevin Maggs with the only try. Humphreys with a couple of penalties, a conversion and a drop goal. All that New Zealand have to show. Chris Jack's stretch for the try, the conversion by Andrew Mertens. And at the break here at Lansdowne Road, Ireland lead the All Blacks by 16 points to 7. Well, it'll be interesting to see whether Horgan comes off immediately or whether they give it a while, because it looked, and listening to Brian O'Brien, as if they were going to make that change at half-time, but down below, Mike Mullins is putting his tracksuit back on, so we can only assume that Shane Horgan there said, hang on a minute, give me another 5 minutes, and then we'll have a look.
He still looks a little gingerish on it, doesn't he? And I guess that with the cool down of the 10-minute half-time period, he wants to see can that warm up again and see can it loosen out. And I think everybody, most Irish players in this ground, certainly want to see him stay on the park.
Rarely has Lansdowne Road belted out the fields of Athenry with such gusto at the start of the second half. Belief before the match has been hardened over the opening 40 minutes, but this All Black side are not considered the greatest of all time for no reason. Dempsey immediately puts them under pressure though, and Mertens did well to hang on. This is the try scorer, Chris Jack. Hewett, who helped to set up the try, the right winger, but again another big tackle by Anthony Foley. Crossing, knocked forward, and it'll be a scrum to Ireland, but Ireland have picked up where they ended the first half, and Anthony Foley typifying this.
They have. It was a wonderful tackle by Foley, but really what set it up was a very poor kick by Andrew Mertens. And ball in hand, he seems an awful lot more assured today, which is not what you'd expect with Mertens. His kicking has been very, very off colour, and ultimately has given attacking options and momentum back to the Irish side at most occasions.
That's the 22. This is Humphreys. O'Driscoll. Haven't really seen much in an attacking sense of O'Driscoll yet. Kevin Maggs has caught the eye more often, the man taking the ball in there. Stringer, Miller, O'Driscoll offering himself, but Miller choosing the dummy. Foley again driving over. Maggs is down injured at the moment. Now he's back on his feet, back to full complement Ireland. Humphreys, O'Driscoll, almost there. Hickey, try.
Oh, wonderfully taken. For a minute we thought O'Driscoll was going to worm out to that and go himself, but great presence of mind just to stay on his feet and make that pass to Dennis Hickey. Again, great Irish pressure, a great continuity. Peter Clossey taking the ball on out, well supported by Malcolm O'Kelly to win that ball, but a wonderful pass from Humphreys that really gave O'Driscoll the momentum, and a great slip to Dennis Hickey. He deserves that. Again, look at that pass, it was perfect. We're talking split seconds here. If that pass had been in any way behind, the momentum would have been lost and New Zealand would have been able to defend it. Wonderful try. Just what Ireland needed to get back on top of this game again, because a 16-7 margin is nothing against a team like New Zealand. But mentally, that will be a blow to New Zealand.
Warren Gatland, what is he thinking at the moment? The conversion, by the way, has been missed by David Humphreys, so it remains at 21-7. But my word, what a performance by Ireland.
Rob Henderson was saying at half-time that he thought that New Zealand couldn't come back, and I was wondering, I thought that might have been a brave statement, but they keep this up, there ain't no way back.
New Zealand know what they face. Richie McCaw waits. Kelleher gathers to Mertens. Inside to Mauger. Again, recycling the ball. Mertens back inside to Thorne. Reaching the Irish 22. Kelleher. Mauger runs in between Keith Wood and Peter Cloesy, which tends always to be a closed door. MacDonald, who was brushed off for Hickey's try, the fullback, in an attacking sense now. Kelleher. Mertens, he's half through. Inside to Thorne, and Thorne replies immediately. Reuben Thorne of Canterbury beavers away out of the spotlight and gives John Mitchell some hope in the spotlight.
Well, it may yet prove to be a brave statement. Again, it was Mertens with ball in hand who is creating the opportunity. Been much more success when he's with ball in hand today than he has with his kicking. He just makes that half break, and who's on hand as any good blindside or open side flanker should be. Reuben Thorne, for what was a fairly simple take, but that will have turned the balance back to a little bit more even in terms of confidence. New Zealand will take some heart from that. They know that if they get territory and possession, that they can score against this Irish side.
Try was converted by Andrew Mertens, which is significant because with David Humphreys having failed to convert Dennis Hickey's try, it means the Blacks are now within a converted score of the Irish. 21-14. 2 tries at the start of this second half, hopefully setting us up for a game of rugby that we will remember for a long, long time to come. Stringer challenging Mertens. Mertens doesn't find touch. Foley, knees pumping, full of harmful intent going into that tackle. O'Kelly, Humphreys into the open spaces, and there is open space over the head of Jonah Lomu. He drifted out, Humphreys sensed it and made him pay.
That was his kicking boots from the dead ball and ball out of hand today are well and truly on. It was a wonderful option, just the right thing. He saw that Lomu had given them a little bit of space with which to work with. He just popped it over his head and it gains a very good attacking position, albeit a New Zealand line out 5 metres from the New Zealand line, and they cut it short again.
I reckon Humphreys on this form could probably hit the statue of Molly Malone from O'Connell Street Bridge, which would be no mean feat. Kelleher kicks away. Gerben Dempsey wanders back. Let's see how Horgan's running here. He's labouring Shane Horgan. Wasn't able to offer much there by way of support. Humphreys. O'Driscoll, the try scorer at the start of this second half. Hickey puts his ears back. Humphreys, tackled by McDonald and Mauger, a combination of. Ireland will have possession from the scrum though. The ball was knocked forward. 2 points of interest. Hickey looking sharp on one wing, Horgan looking laboured on the other.
Yes, he looks always in a bit of difficulty, and I can't see him staying on for much longer. But again, wonderful distribution from David Humphreys and from Brian O'Driscoll. Hickey just getting outside Hewett, and David Humphreys with very little support, but luckily enough for Ireland, the ball was knocked down by a New Zealand hand and gives Ireland a very good attacking position. Scrum on the New Zealand 22.
That's Peter Stringer winning his 16th cap today, a product of Presentation College in Cork. That's the All Black 22. Humphreys. O'Driscoll tackled by Mauger. Balls come loose. Lomu. McDonald just happy to clear at the moment.
Well, they did well to win that because, and this is what he's been picked for, but Richard McCaw was lightning quick onto that loose ball. With a blink of an eye, that ball had been distributed and turned what was a dangerous position from a New Zealand perspective into a potential attacking option for them. Ireland line out just on their side of the halfway line.
Keith Wood, who used to be one of Ireland's most eligible bachelors, but got married over the summer. Dublin hearts breaking all the time. Humphreys. O'Driscoll. This is Wallace, the flanker. We know that he can motor, but New Zealand clear the ball forward. Mauger challenging Humphreys. He has Hickey up in support, but Mauger was there with the tackle. Hickey there into touch, and the All Blacks with a two-man raiding party pushing Ireland back into their own 22.
All Blacks very quick onto that loose ball as distributed by David Wallace, turning what was a potential attacking situation for Ireland into defence. And they had themselves a line out just no less than 15 metres, 10 metres from the Irish line.
You sense, don't you, that this could be one of the key times of the match. Ireland still leading 21-14, but the Kiwis looking better. Mertens to Lomu, decided not to go for Mauger and hung on to it. Now they'll shuttle round and win back possession. Mertens again. This is McDonald, the fullback. Anton Oliver up in support. This is Robertson for the line, and that's the try for Hewett. They have got the try. They are so good at turning around in adversity, and Doug Howlett, the 23-year-old Aucklander, gets New Zealand's second try at the start of this second half, and they're almost now within touching distance. Philip.
Yeah, so not the way you'd normally associate New Zealand breaking down teams, but showing a great ability that when in opposition half they can make it count. They got into their stride a little bit more. They're running off the ball is a little bit better. Passes are sticking, taking much better options, much better good distribution from Mertens there. And if McDonald had been put down there, maybe the momentum would have been stopped. But yeah, wonderful pass. McDonald takes the ball very, very flat. The key was the support from both number 8 Scott Robertson and from Doug Howlett in the end.
Now this is an important kick. Andrew Mertens, the most capped fly half and their record point scorer, with this conversion to draw them level for the first time since very early in the match here in Dublin. He's missed it. That wasn't part of the script, but Ireland have been given a let-off of sorts, but they'll know they'll have to pick it up because that's how close it is now. It's Ireland 21, New Zealand 19.
Yeah, it's 21-19. You can't defend a 2-point gap with 29 minutes left to go in this half, so they're going to have to play the game and win this game if they're going to win it.
Oliver, half a spill from the restart, but it went backwards, so Chris Jack, the try scorer in the first half, could gather, but Wood somehow stole it for Ireland. Foley out to Hickey, goes the long way round, goes beyond Oliver, tackled by McCaw. Terrific response from the Irish. Stringer to Humphreys, back inside to Maggs. Foley, but he needs to find the sanctuary of more green shirts. They're all lined up to the right at the moment. Humphreys with the drop goal. A second drop goal for David Humphreys. When you're in a bit of a pickle, turn to Mr. Humphreys and he will more than often provide. 24-19, and Ireland just give themselves a little more breathing space. Yeah, a little breathing space. There's very little else on there. It was a great decision by David Humphreys. It wasn't particularly deep, but the All Blacks didn't think that was going to be the option. Slotted that beautifully. Just split decision. Yeah, it's on. Whack. Over it goes. He really is striking the ball well today. Terrific ability to drop those kinds of goals on the run as well. He didn't need to wait. Half stride, bang, 3 more points. 14 points from David Humphreys so far. But Ireland have work to do in defence as well. Kelleher to Mertens. Jack, tall lock with a big future. Mertens back to Somerville. Canterbury lock, 1 of 10 in this side. Picked up by Oliver. Kelleher, that close to the line. More defending for Ireland. Desperate to get this ball back. Maxwell, Hewett, Somerville rocking Eric Miller out of the way. The ball was clear. Well picked up by Clohessy. Hickey did well to get the ball away under the pressure of Kelleher. John Hayes is down injured at the moment, so Ireland down to 14 men. Hayes struggling to get up to his feet, away to the left-hand side and out of shot. Mauger intercepted almost by Humphreys. That close, but actually Ireland could do with a break here because John Hayes is down and they need the breather. Philip.
Oh, as David Humphreys just looks to the heavens after that, he anticipated. He was standing in no man's land, wasn't he? He just unfortunately reached for it with one hand. It popped onto his knee. And then the chance was gone. There must be something wrong with John Hayes, something seriously wrong if he's not looking too happy. Don't call him the bull for nothing, as Emmett Byrne tightens the strings on his shorts as he looks like he's going to prepare to take the pitch, but John Hayes will be reluctant enough to go off. If there's any way he can carry on, he'll carry on.
There he is, the Leinster man. He's won 6 caps, made his first start a week ago against Samoa. He's a useful guy to have on the bench actually, because he can play either side of the front row, loose head or tight head, and he's going to be employed for the remainder of this match in a tight head capacity because John Hayes limps off and Emmett Byrne comes on to face the sternest test in world rugby, up against the mighty All Blacks. But what's more, coming into an Ireland team who are leading the mighty All Blacks by 24 points to 19, and we're 15 minutes into the second half. McDonald breaks the tackle. He's got Hewett outside, back inside to Robertson. Stringer, ball's free. Miller almost there. It's going to be a penalty to New Zealand if they don't use this anyway. Mertens to Lomu. Oliver, must be a score to Mauger. Over the line is he, and Mauger gets the try. On his debut, Aaron Mauger, the 20-year-old from Canterbury. And New Zealand are right back in it.
Well, this is familiar territory for New Zealand now. They're not used to being behind. Mauger cuts back. He has to work really hard for this try. cuts back against the grain, if you like, against that swarming Irish defence on no less than 3 occasions. There's enough power to brush aside Dennis Hickey and get the touchdown. Smiles all round for New Zealand. This is where they want to be, this is where they like to be, and that's ahead. They've broken the back of this Irish defence now, got themselves into a position where they feel they're going to start to control and dictate the pace in this game. What can Ireland do in response?
It's 24-all, so this to give the Kiwis the lead. And for the first time in the match, that man's team, John Mitchell's All Blacks, lead Ireland by 26 points to 24. Mertens with the conversion, but Aaron Mauger on his debut, inspired by the likes of John Kerwin and Frank Bunce, he was telling me before the match, with a try for them. And Warren Gatland, the Ireland coach, maybe reassessing, maybe wondering just how long he can persist with Shane Horgan, whether he needs to make more changes just to try and stem the tide, which at the moment is a black one. Hickey under pressure from Hewett, but the ball bounces to Dempsey. That's the Irish 10-metre line, but just look at that driving, rocking play. But still, Ireland do well to hang on to the ball. Stringer, Humphreys, not much room to operate in. Hickey half thinks about the run, inside to Wood. Now if he could score from the halfway line, hammered to the floor by Richie McCaw, the open side flanker. And I think New Zealand have stolen this. Kelleher, half through the tackle of Foley. New Zealand feeling good about themselves for the first time in this match. Mertens, who's beginning to find his range as well, into the dead ball area. It won't go dead, so Dempsey will have to touch down.
Well, as Dempsey touches down, you can see a noticeable spring in All Black steps now. They're much more confident in this position.
Ireland, as we watch Shane Horgan go, now this will be a test of the ankle. Hauled down by Mauger, and Ireland concede the penalty, diving on top of the ball. And I think before this penalty can be taken, they're going to make a couple of substitutions, Ireland. Here's the break from Horgan.
That was very unfortunate that Brian O'Driscoll just couldn't break away completely. But ultimately gave the ball to Shane Horgan, who was tackled and unfortunately held on too long. But
I think that will be Shane Horgan's last piece of work, though, because Mike Mullins, an Aucklander, but now very much a Munster man, born in New Zealand, comes on to replace the brave Shane Horgan. And Gary Longwell, a proud man of Ulster, will come on to replace Mick Galway in the pack. So a couple of changes. Longwell for Galway, and on the wing, Horgan off, Mullins on. But I guess it's on the wing really that we're going to have to watch things, because Lomu might fancy Mike Mullins, not the stature that Horgan has. This is McDonald. The Kiwis, remember, ahead for the first time in the match. Greg Feek, hauled down again by Foley. He's done his fair share of tackling, Anthony Foley. That's the Irish 22. They've done well. Have they won back possession? It looks very much as if they have. That's terrific scrabbling by Ireland. Andre Watson, the referee, saying, get out, or we'll give the penalty. They didn't get out, so he gave the penalty. 10 out of 10 for the Irish forwards.
Well, that was a wonderful turnover. Failed to identify the Irish player who was able to win that ball back, but supported by Keith Wood with some fairly, well, a Munster version of his own rucking style, if you like, in response to some fairly aggressive All Black rucking. Wins the ball and the penalty, and ultimately gives Ireland a line out just on the New Zealand 10-yard line, 10-metre line.
So an hour gone here in a increasingly misty Dublin. Ireland 24, New Zealand 26. Humphreys has Mags on the burst, goes on his own. Now they need the support. The Kiwis very good at stealing possession in these situations, though. Greg Somerville tidies up for them. Kelleher to Mertens, who's had a real hand in there fight back. Oliver out to Chris Jack, who got them going with that try before half-time. Fork lifted out of the way by Dennis Hickey on the halfway line. Should still come back on the Kiwi side. Merton's just pointing the ball out. Somerville tries to clear the body into space. Hickey has to run backwards, and when he gathers the ball, he'll have McDonald to deal with, and sensibly just runs it into touch.
New Zealand will want to make this attacking position pay as well. They've cut the line again. It's a very good position for them. At a key time in the match. Still just a 2-point deficit between these two sides. Still all to play for. Ireland, this will be a critical part in the game. If Ireland truly believe in themselves, then they're in with a chance. But any capitulation, however slight mentally, at this stage of the game is going to give the momentum to New Zealand.
This could be a big line out for Anton Oliver and his troops. It's taken at the back by Norm Maxwell. Feet gathers round. Now comes the drive. Ireland have to get their backs behind this to repel it, and they have done. Gary Longwell was at the forefront, but it's still All Black ball. Major Lomu, surely Lomu from that distance is unstoppable. And Ireland just beginning to come apart at the green seams. The All Blacks pulling them gently and beginning to score the tries.
And the All Blacks well and truly in their rhythm now. It was a wonderful move, because everything was going across the park, pulling the Irish defence across, and Lomu's angle was so sharp and to that defence that ultimately there's no way they were going to be able to defend that. It really left David Humphries vainly clawing at that black shadow, Jonah Lomu.
His 33rd Test match try. John Kerwin, by the way, the record holder, has 35, so he needs 2 more. The conversion was good. Merton slotted it over, and in the blink of an eye, Ireland now trail New Zealand by 24 points to 33. We've gone beyond the midway point in the second half, and if Ireland are to create some history they'll be talking about in years to come, now they have to dig deep. Now they really do have to dig deep.
Well, they've just been given a chance, and a knock on by New Zealand.
Number 17, by the way, is Dave Hewett, the Canterbury prop, who's come on for Greg Feek.
Gives Ireland a good attacking position. 5 metres outside the 10-yard line. Centre of the field. And Ireland splitting their centres. Trying to keep this New Zealand defence guessing what way they're going to go, what they're going to do.
Ireland 9 points adrift with a little over a quarter of an hour to go. O'Driscoll, interesting. Hewett might make the most of this. He's on a lone chase at the moment, and here's the man who gave him the ball in the first place. O'Driscoll, now he does decide to run, and on this occasion finds touch.
He shakes his head. That passage of play, not sure what the idea was in the first play. I think he was looking for a low spiralling touch just to give Ireland a decent field position within New Zealand 22. When that failed, in fairness, he chased up the kick, but just given New Zealand an attacking line just on the Irish 22.
The captain, Anton Oliver, has got the line out working well today. It was a little wobbly against the Aussies. They suspected the Wallabies had stolen their line out codes, but this is much better, and Oliver will be feeling happier about life in general and the line out specifically, although he won't be too amused by that, because accidental offside, bashing into another player, hands possession back to the Irish. Chris Jack, the man who has most to be rueful about. That's the Irish 22, though. They're in the wrong 22 if they want to try and dent this 9-point gap which separates them from the Men in Black, the original Men in Black. No Hollywood imitation. This lot charged down almost by Richie McCann, and these are early days for Richie McCann, and he's following in a pretty decent line of succession Michael Jones and Josh Kronfeld, but he looks busy, doesn't he?
He looks very, very busy. He's really come from nowhere, and quite a lot of controversy back in New Zealand around his selection. Uncapped player, but certainly very quick about the park, got a good pair of hands, and he's not there for nothing. Ireland's
line out not functioning. That's the All Black 10-metre line. Mertens This is a tester for Dempsey. He's got Mauger there. I think Mauger just pulled out of the tackle at the last minute.
But again, a perfect Gary Owen from Mertens. It was perfectly weighted, timed just for the arrival of Mauger. Probably just a yard too far. I'm not sure if that was an attempt to tackle or what it was, but ultimately it gives David Humphreys the opportunity to clear the lines because the penalty's been given.
See the scoreboard there. Ireland 24, New Zealand 33. I wonder if we will see this man, Ronan O'Gara. Came on against England and did the business when Humphreys was injured. No real reason to take Humphreys off at the moment. He's not put a foot wrong. Ireland again lose the line out. Mertens. Wallace fooled by the dummy. Lomu already got one try. Fancies another. Dempsey or Lomu. Dempsey gets there bravely, gets to his feet quickly. Good full-back play from Gervin Dempsey. Still the All Blacks driving, but our referee, the South African Andre Watson, decides it'll be an Ireland scrum.
But yeah, that was a very brave play by Gervin Dempsey. Also, it was like going at the feet of a charging water buffalo. What a sight. The only one thing to do was to take that ball and take it low and on the ground, and ultimately wins possession and the scrum for Ireland just inside their own 22.
Thank you.
Must have been holding his breath, waiting for 19 stones to come crashing down on his ribs. Ireland having to do the hard yards in defence though. And again the All Blacks conceding the penalty. But they know that for the first time in the match, the clock is on their side.
Yeah, New Zealand will be happy to play this game in the Irish half. They're confident in the knowledge that any possession they get, they're likely to turn it into points. Pressure now on Ireland, they're going to have to start forcing things and moving things. But they should be confident, because any time they've had ball in hand, they've looked dangerous. But they're going to need to make some of this field position pay off now and get points on the board and start closing that gap.
18 is Longwell. 5, who was the intended recipient, is Malcolm O'Kelly. It's picked up by the All Black replacement, Dave Hewett. And worryingly, the Irish line-out has just gone off the rails momentarily. Mike Mullins is forced to run all the way back. Will it go dead? Not quite. Another couple of rolls. But Mullins forced a touchdown, and Mertens, well, again, perfect weight.
Yeah, it's very simple for Mertens now. All he wants to do is just keep the ball in the Irish half. It goes into touch, all well and good. If not, he's going to be happy with the 22. It's up to Ireland to do something with this game now. They're the ones that are going to have to force the pace.
Well, if you want to etch your name in history, then you have to work hard, you have to dig deep. It doesn't come easily. And Ireland still have the opportunity. They're still just the 9 points behind, and there's still enough time. But there is a feeling that New Zealand are beginning to tuck them in their pocket just a little bit. Stringer to Humphreys, who's had another marvellous match, kicks the ball away. It's really all he can do, because they're not working from the positions that they really need to be working from.
That's right. It's very difficult to turn that around, particularly when you've got no worthwhile field position. Ultimately, you need to kick. Gives the opposition back the ball. Ireland need to conjure something out of this. Maybe steal a ball and turn defence into attack. Because if they can't attack from the New Zealand half, they're going to have to attack from their own half. There's no two ways about it.
Kiwis, as you see, always keen to get the ball wide, and why wouldn't they when they've got Lomu and Hewett on the wing? Let's see what they do with this. Mauger to Lomu off the wing. Now we need some big tackles. Oh, Dempsey was terrifically brave. Halted the momentum. Still the dangers there, and the All Blacks diving in, and the man who deserves a military medal is Gervin Dempsey.
Well, a very brave performance yet again. The All Blacks guilty of some uncharacteristic indiscipline at breakdowns. Normally so disciplined. Well, the referee just having a word with Anton Oliver. I think he must have seen something that we didn't see on behalf of Owen Kelleher, giving himself a wry smile. And I wouldn't care to translate that.
I think Kelleher's one of those scrum halves who likes to have an open dialogue, shall we say, with the referee during the match, and Andre Watson just said to the captain Anton Oliver, he's on my back, get him off. Kelleher had a wry smile on his face. Mary McAlee is an interested onlook at the Irish president. Humphreys. Maggs coming in on the crash ball, almost beat the tackle of Richie McCaw. Robertson. Again, well tackled by Eric Miller. He'll have sore shoulders this evening, put in his share of big tackles. Miller. This is Somerville. All back by his shirt tails by Wood. The ball's out. Mertens out to McDonald. They've got Major outside. Hewett inside. This could be the match. This could be the try. That close. It'll be an all-black scrum, but it could have been much, much worse.
Well, it could have been, and it should have been. Hewett really should have brought some of his colleagues into that. It was a wonderful breakout at the end of the day, but Hewett gets it, and he has plenty of support. Ultimately goes on his own. And that man, Gervin Dempsey, and also Mike Mullins, just managed to wrap him up, get underneath him. And it's going to be a 5-metre scrum and put into New Zealand.
That's Doug Howlett. 2 tries on his debut when the Blacks beat Tonga 102-0. This one is a little closer. Clarity on this near side. 35 years now, winning his 49th cap. We assume the 50th will come against Wales when Ireland open their Six Nations campaign here in the new year. Ireland 24, New Zealand 33, and a smidge over 5 minutes to go. Lomu, can they stop him? He's almost over the line. Kelleher looking for the options. Jack's the nearest, might fancy it himself, and the try is scored. The prop, the replacement, Dave Hewett with the try for the Blacks. That will seal it, and hats off to the men in black. There is no answer to 5 second-half tries, and the 5th scored by Dave Hewett.
Yeah, well, Lomu set up the field position. When I saw the All Blacks practicing this on the pitch in the warm-up, Kelleher will just break and pop the ball back inside. It's very difficult to defend against. His lateral run creates the gap, pop inside with the defence going across, and unless your defence is very, very well organised, that's going to be a try every time, particularly from that distance. It's not the best angle to see it from. He just pops inside, and yeah, that's a very, very well-worked try. That's a guaranteed 5-pointer every time you get into that position.
Try on his debut for Dave Hewett. Andrew Mertens with the conversion, and with 5 minutes to go, Ireland now trail the All Blacks by 24 points to 40, and I think over the last half an hour we have seen visible proof of why this side are still the ones to beat.
Yeah, they've just slipped into autopilot, really, haven't they? Once they got that horrendous first half out of their system, and once they got their neck ahead, and now 5 minutes can be a long time to be playing a New Zealand side in this kind of mood.
They're utterly relentless. That's one of the keys about the All Blacks. They never let up, and they never panic either. Even when they were down at half-time and the wind was in the Irish sails, the All Blacks came out a couple of minutes before the Irish did, before the start of the second half, regathered, and this is the result. Here's Maggs, though, who gave Ireland hope very early on. Almost up to the halfway line. Stringer to Wood. Picked up by Mullins. The Aucklander, now an honorary Irishman. Ball's come free. Stolen by Stringer. Stringer for the line, didn't quite have the legs. And it's Somerville who rescues New Zealand. Needed one extra gear, which he didn't have. Mertens. Ambition born of a 16-point lead. Hammered away by Mauger to Gervin Dempsey. O'Driscoll, glue on the fingers. The pass wasn't so good, but Humphreys sweeps up. Gary Longwell, Keith Wood. He has Mullins outside if he needs him. Back to Longwell. This crowd would love a try to see them off. Stringer, Wood, and it was knocked forward. A try by Wood. It really would have gone down very well, but the ball was knocked forward. It's a brave performance, and one of the things is that it's a performance that is continuing, and they, compared to the side of 4 years ago, are much fitter, and they're still there.
And that's to their credit, and also in their own right present a very dangerous attacking threat. This Ireland side have opened up gaps in this New Zealand defence. They just on occasion haven't quite been able to make the most of it, as we've seen just there, but certainly have a lot to be proud of themselves in their attacking performance today.
Mauger, and that was forward, so maybe Ireland will have a chance to finish the match off with a late flourish. But those tries in the second half from Thorne and Hewett and Mauger and Lomu and then Hewett, relentless, remorseless.
Yes, they really have shown their class. So much of this is second nature to All Black sides. You get the sense that this is just bread and butter to them.
Ireland appear to have lost the ball at the scrum, but they've been penalised in the front row for burrowing, using the elbow illegally, so Ireland have the penalty, and Humphreys will find touch, and it'll be a line out 5 metres out, and there's still one last chance for some reflected glory before the end.
Well, Ireland need to get their line out working. It's been a little bit rocky for the last 20 minutes of this half. Need a good one.
McCaw, the man of the match, taken by Longwell. Arch the backs, get the muscles, the ball is over the line, and Ireland have the try. Eric Miller, who has done his fair share of work in defence, gets reward in attack. It won't alter the outcome of the match, but it's utterly deserved nonetheless. It's Ireland 29, New Zealand 40, with the conversion to come.
Well, again, Ireland showing the confidence to take on this New Zealand forward unit. Much was said about New Zealand's tactics coming into this game, that they were going to try and physically intimidate Ireland, but it really hasn't happened, and it has to be said that Ireland have pretty much given as good as they got up front. I think the difference today really has been the cohesiveness of New Zealand and their assuredness in the opposition 22, particularly in the early stages of the second half when they essentially won this game.
Well, then can Humphreys slot the conversion to take Ireland into the 30s? Tired legs, maybe a tired mind, and for almost the first time in the match, Humphreys can't respond, so that's how it stays. The Kiwis still leading by 40 points to 29.
That's a good tight maul. The born out of, well, a performance that we've seen by the likes of Munster and Leinster in the European Cup. Irish sides have really made a feature of their morning.
Into the final minute of the match, O'Driscoll had to be rescued by Miller, and they might be made to pay still, but they were using their hands when the ball was on the floor illegally, so Ireland escaped with a penalty. It is many people's contention, though, Philip, that Ireland are probably the second best side in Europe now, even ahead of the French, and this kind of performance will cement that. It's not been the glorious victory, but it's still been a performance that they can be rightly proud of and gives them plenty more to build on.
Absolutely, and I think the stats, the figures will all support that as well. They've now removed a couple of heens, a couple of devils on their shoulders, if you like, monkeys on their back, and one of those in particular was France, and they seem to have overtaken them in the last the last couple of seasons, and as you say, are well on their way to achieving their ultimate ambition of maybe joining England in that second tier, if you like, challenging the stronger nations.
May well come, but not just yet. And New Zealand, having half shown them the door, slammed it in their face in the second half. This is the halfway line. And a scrum to New Zealand. Still kicking up turf right at the end. Mertens. Hewett still eager for the ball. Here he is. Somerville, the prop. These are two tired sets of players now, but still Kelleher has the nous to see the wide open space. Mauger looking and not quite having the legs to get there. Into injury time. It's now just a question of how much Andre Watson, our South African referee, decides to add on. We've had one or two stoppages in the second half. It's not going to affect the outcome. Ireland would dearly love to avoid conceding another try, though. Half a dozen tries in the second half would be too much to take. It's swept up at the back by Longwell. Humphreys under pressure from Kelleher. He started the match under pressure from Kelleher, and he's ending the match under pressure from Kelleher.
Yes, he looks thoroughly tired of Owen Kelleher's presence, doesn't he? And in fairness, it's something that Owen Kelleher's made a feature on his play. We've seen it in the Super 12 when he's been playing for Otago. He's very quick off the mark. Comes to the gain line at pace when he's charging down those kicks. It means he's really putting people under pressure.
Interesting adaptation of the line-out, which Ireland profited from. Humphreys again. This time he gets the ball away with a little more comfort, and that will do. They came so close to doing something no one has done in nigh on 100 years, Ireland, and beat the All Blacks. They were ahead at half-time and people began to wonder, but in the second half the All Blacks forced their way back into it, and John Mitchell's side in their first test showed their mettle. Thorne, Hewett, Mauger, Lomu and Hewett with all those tries in the second half. Eric Miller scored one late on for Ireland and for Warren Gatlin's team, but no disgrace. A terrific performance by Ireland, but the All Blacks are still there to be beaten. Final score here in Dublin: Ireland 29, New Zealand 40.